Hi everyone, it's Nurse Rose here. I'm going to read this story to you that I have from my childhood. I actually bought this story when I was a child because it had my name in it. And I didn't know at the time, but I now know that it has a very important message. And maybe you could tell me what that message is after we read the story. Rosie's story. Rosie Wilson had red hair and freckles, but Rosie wanted to be different. I wish I looked like everyone else, she sighed. I wish I didn't have red hair and freckles. Rosie's grandparents thought she was beautiful. They had photos of her everywhere, on top of the television set, on the piano, and in the hallway. But this didn't make Rosie feel any better. She simply hated her red hair and freckles. One summer, Rosie's family moved. When she started at her new school, there were 17 other children in her class. 5 had blonde hair, 9 had brown hair, and 3 had black hair. Rosie was the 18th child and the only one with red hair and freckles. The others called her Carrots, Strawberry Shortcake, Firecracker, and even Dragon's Breath. Rosie was miserable. She didn't let herself cry, but she got a terrible headache from holding back the tears. I hate my red hair, I hate my freckles, every single one of them, she said to herself. Rosie told her parents that the other children at school teased her. Oh, Rosie, we think you're beautiful, said her mother, and even if you weren't, what you are like in the inside is more important than what you look like. Her father gave her one of his biggest bear hugs and said, don't you worry about the others, just ignore them. They'll soon get tired of teasing you. Rosie hoped that what her parents said was true, but every school day was the same. Hi, Sparky, keep away from the red-headed match. You'll get burned. Run, fire, run. Every evening, Rosie spent an extra long time in the bath. She tried to scrub all the freckles off her arms and legs, and every night she wished on a star that the color of her hair would change. But every morning she looked in the mirror and saw the same freckles, the same red hair, and the same sad little face. One day, Mrs. Clark, Rosie's teacher, announced a picture storybook competition. She wanted them all to enter. Each child was to write a story and make it into a book and bring it to school the following week. That night, Rosie sat at the kitchen table and sobbed. Whatever is the matter, Rosie? Her mother asked. I have to write a book for school, and I can't. My head is full of sadness. No ideas will come. There's no more space. I'm just an ugly girl with hundreds of freckles. Why don't you write about how you feel? It might make you feel better, and it might help people understand, Rosie's mother suggested. The others would think I'm silly, said Rosie. They'd laugh at me. Why not give it a try anyway? Her mother said. Rosie didn't like the idea, but she couldn't think of anything else. Rosie didn't want to draw attention to herself, so she decided to write about a boy with red hair and freckles, and she called him Rusty. The following week, everyone brought their books to school. Thomas read a story called The Frog Who Wore Spectacles, and everyone giggled at the funny parts. Then Eartha read a mystery, and everyone clapped because the ending was such a surprise. Alice read a spooky ghost story, which made everyone squirm and gave them goosebumps. Then it was Rosie's turn. She read her story in a low voice. Nobody giggled and nobody clapped, and everyone looked down at the ground in silence. Rosie waited, the teacher waited, and finally Mrs. Clark said, Well done, Rosie. Your story meant a lot to me. When I was a girl, I was so skinny. People joked that I would blow away. And I know exactly how Rusty must have felt. Polly raised her hand. I do too, she said, blushing. I used to be plump and everyone called me dumpling. People even laughed when I ate ice cream. People tease me because I like to tap dance, said Carlos. But tap's not soppy. It's really hard to get the steps right, but when I do, I feel great. If people are mean about it, I just picture them lining up to see me when my name is in the lights. And Sally added, when I first got my glasses, I was called Four Eyes. I raced home from the bus stop and threw my glasses in the trash. I felt like Rusty when people laughed at me because I didn't understand multiplication, said Maya. Same here, said Andrew. You see, everyone feels bad when people make fun of them, said Mrs. Clark. Understanding that you should think of other people's feelings is one of the most important lessons that you can ever learn. The children finished reading their stories, then everyone voted for the one they liked best. Miss Clark counted the votes for each story and announced the favorite story was written by Rosie Wilson. Someone shouted, "Good for you, Rosie," and the others clapped and cheered. Rosie's face went as red as her hair, and for a moment, her freckles disappeared. The end. What do you think the message of the story is? Share it with yourself or your parents or maybe even your teacher. Thank you.